Welcome to episode 4 of my Elite Dangerous walkthrough for beginners. Um, First, let me say that there's no exact way of playing the game, that you can do anything you like. This is just one way of doing it. The main aim, that whatever you want to do, you need some money in the bank to be able to buy the ships to do what you want to do. So every ship can do everything, more or less. Um, but obviously some do it better than others. So this is just a way to get you a bit of a kickstart. You know, if you wanted to go exploring, you need Disney Explorer ship. If you want to go mining, you need mining ship, etc., etc. So uh, just to recap, we've got 3,600,000 in the bank. Our Sidewinder, we bought some stuff for it. It was a loan Sidewinder, so everything you got at the beginning was free. And when you sell the stuff, you don't get any money for it. But the things we upgraded, you do. So if we sold the Sidewinder now, we'd get about 400,000 for it. So we got 4 million in the bank to spend. So in this episode, I'm going to cover exploration. And what I'll do in the next few episodes, I'll do the different directions that you can go. So um, this will be exploration. We'll do mining. We'll do combat, and we'll do missions. So let's get on with exploration for this one. Now, I'm going to show you a tool which will help you with outfitting and ships. So we're going to do a bit more advanced outfitting now. So let's see what we got. So this is where we are at the moment with our Sidewinder. These are the things, this is the exact loadout, or first of all, let me show you this. Coriolis.io. I'll give you a link in the description so you can just copy and paste it. And this is really useful. I'll show you how it all works in a minute. But by default, when you come here, I don't know what default ship there is, but um, you can select the ships here. So whichever one you ship there, it brings up the basic one. But I've done this one for how we are at the moment. And you can see down here how much power you're using. These are the priorities on the various modules, and I'll show you how they become important later. Now remember, in the modules panel, I did mention them before. That's where you'll find these priorities, and you can switch them on and off. So in this one, to switch them on and off, you just click them like that. In the panel on your ship, you have to double click them. Right, now what I've done, I've greyed out these ones because these are the things that were actually loaned to us that we didn't upgrade, that don't belong to us. So we didn't pay for the ship, so it's not worth 4,000. We didn't pay for the docking computer. I think we got the, you might have kept the Super Cruise Assist, but that has no value either. So we bought the fuel scoop, and if we sell these modules, we'll get the money back for it. So there you can see 460,000 we should get back if we sell that. So that's the money we got to play with now, about 4 million. Now, there's in progress for exploration ships. The normal route would be Sidewinder, Hauler, Diamondback, and then maybe Asp. It's sort of even Stevens between the Diamondback and the Asp. The Diamondback can do some things better, and the Asp can do some things better. So it's not necessarily an upgrade. It's just about choosing one that's more appropriate to what you want to do. And then after the Asp, normally the Anaconda, but some people like the Crate. The Anaconda has the biggest jump range and is, if you're truly objective, it's probably in terms of what it can do, it's the best exploration ship at the moment. Um, but what's best for some people isn't best for other people. Some people like a nice view, some people like it to handle nicely and things like that. But that doesn't affect the smaller ships so much. Right. So let's have a look at the logical next step, which would be a hauler. So I can bring it up like this. I'm going to bring it in a new tab, hauler, there it is. Open link in new tab. And this is the basic hauler. I guess originally it was designed for carrying cargo, but it does make a very cheap exploration ship. Now, the advantage of the hauler is that it has nearly exactly the same modules as the Sidewinder for as far as exploration is concerned. So, like before, you can get rid of your lasers because you don't need those. We're not going to shoot anything. We're not going to carry anything, so you don't need those cargo racks either. Now, to make it like the Sidewinder, remember, um, we went D for lightness, but we need to make sure we've got enough power for how we set up the ship. B for lightness again on thrusters because we don't need to go particularly fast. The frame shift drive we want to be the maximum for the best jump range. Life support we want to be lightest because we're hopefully never gonna use the life support. The power distributor, um, because we're not escaping from anybody or anything, we don't need high charge rates for anything. So lightest one and lightest sensors. So sensors don't have much effect on exploration. So they're more important for combat and some other things. So we can just go for the lightest there. So already now, you see our jump range is up to 29 light years. Now, we don't need any shields. We don't need these cargo racks either. So the thing we did need was the fuel scoop. Now, in our Sidewinder, we had a 2A. So we're going to have to get rid of that now. And this time, we'll get a 3A fuel scoop for much faster scooping. Then we had, without shields, you're going to need your advanced docking computer to get you in and out of the stations without crashing. So where's that? It's in flight assist somewhere. There it is, advanced docking studio. So that now is the same as we had the Sidewinder, except we've got a 3A fuel scoop instead of a 2A. And as you can see now, we can do 32 light years. So if you just want to make money, you could just swap over to this ship and then carry on with the Road to Riches scheme I showed you, using that tool where it makes a list of systems you can go to and scan planets. And in this ship, you'll make 10 million an hour at least in that. So it won't take very long at all. You know, like an evening's work, and you'll have 50 million. And that opens up obviously a lot more opportunities for buying ships. Right. But this is what I call a road to riches ship. You could use it as a taxi or just generally for traveling around visiting systems, but you can't do much when they're there. Now, one other thing you can do, you can add a detailed surface scanner. Where's that? It's down the bottom somewhere. Scanners, detailed surface scanner. And what that does, you can fire probes into planets. Like you have to fly up to them first. You fly probes into them, and it maps out the surface and shows you all the features on the planet, and also gets you a load of extra money. So if you did this as well as the scans you did before, I think your earnings rate, if you do it right, can go as high as 30 million. But you need to be quick and efficient in the way you do it. But yeah, so you can make a lot of extra money just doing that. And also, when you map out the surface, you find all sorts of things, you know, like alien ruins and geological stuff, geysers and um, Thargoid barnacles and all sorts of things. So if you just want to go exploring, looking for new stuff, you need a detailed surface scanner. Then the other thing that you might want is the SRV, the planetary vehicle hangar. So what this thing does, it allows you to drive around on planets. So once you've found your geological sites, you might want to go and have a look and see what they are exactly. So you land your ship on the planet, jump in your SRV and go out and explore it. Now, the only trouble with what we've got now is landing on planets is that the planets have gravity and your docking computer is not going to land you on the planet. You have to do that manually. And without shields, you're probably going to take a little bit of damage each time you land. It's when you bump on the ground, you lose a bit of hull. If you only go to one planet and then back to the station, that's not really a problem. But if you're going to go out into space and go traveling for a bit, you're now going to need some shields. So, oh, sorry, I should have put that in this one. There it is in there. Oh, and there's two planetary vehicle hangars, the 2G and a 2H. Now, I'm not too sure why anybody would want the 2H. There must be some reason for it. But a 2G is much lighter, and obviously, if it's an exploration ship, light affect the lightweight or the weight affects the jump range. So you want the lightest one. So always go for the 2G, and if it's a bigger ship, it'll be I think it's the 4G. So in this one now, we're going to need to put some shields. So um, probably 3D is enough to protect you, but you need to be mindful of the gravity when you get to the planet. On your head-up display, it'll tell you what the gravity is, and I'm going to show you that later. So um, if it's anything, below zero point 0.2, which is most planets, this 3D shield should be enough. But once you get to like 1G and higher, I think they go as high as 9G. And if you can imagine, like 1G is the planet Earth. So if you're up in the sky, you've got to use your thrusters to get down and land carefully. And with only weak thrusters, 2D ones, that's going to be a problem. So I would say if you're going to do this with a 3D shield, don't go and land on really high gravity planets. Stick to ones, let's say, I don't know what the maximum would be, but let's say 0.5 G. I think anything above that is going to be dangerous. So when you want to land on those planets, you're going to need to think about having much stronger thrusters and uh, probably stronger shields as well, because you can take a bit of a bump when you hit the ground. Like if you hit it perfectly, yeah, it's fine, but you're going to need to practice a bit first before you know how to do that. You'll see when we get there. So now the problem with fitting with the shield generator and the planetary vehicle hangar, they have now in total 8 tons of mass, and that's cut our jump range back down again. So we're playing this game between uh, like the things we want and how much we can jump. Now, 24 light years still isn't bad. If you just want to go exploring, you know, that's fine. So for now, for the cost of 1.4 million, we don't even need to sell our Sidewinder, although we don't need it anymore because this does everything and more. So it doesn't make sense to keep the Sidewinder. Um, so we could, like, now the problem is what's better? You say, oh, I could get a better, if I'm going to land on planets and I need better thrusters, I could get 2A1s in there. But now they're like jump range has gone down a bit again. Now, it didn't go down much. So what you need to do now, if you're going to make any other changes, sorry, it was not the power plant, it was the thrusters. We'd want 2A. Now we haven't got enough power. So we've got to get round that. So let's have a look. Now we're using 110% power. So now I'm going to show you a bit about power management. There are ways round that. So what we could do, let's just have, no, the problem is if we go on higher power now, we lose even more jump range. So you see it's 23 there, the 2D, it won't tell us now what it is, but we'll get back to that. Now, let's have a look at our things. Remember I mentioned these power priorities. So there's a few things we can do before we switched off the power distributor. We don't even need that because we never need to change it. You just put 4 pips to your engines and 1 to shields and 1 to um, uh, weapons. Not that you got any weapons. And so you've got the maximum power going to your engines all the time. Um, not that you even really need engines. The only time is going to be when you land on the planets. Then you're going to want 4 pips to um, definitely 4 pips to engines, uh, and yeah, and 2 to shields. So yeah, fix 2 to shields and 4 to engines. If you're gonna if you're landing in a high gravity one, you might want to, at the last moment, put 4 pips to shields. You know, if it's clear you're going to bump into the ground, and that makes your shields stronger. How many pips you got in your shields affects how strong they are. Um, right, so we'll deal with that later. But for now, uh, we're not going to use the cargo hatch generally. So now we've got enough power. So that's one way of being able to fit a smaller power plant for the number of modules you've got. Um, let's say we fitted something else. Let's say we had a 3C shield. Now we haven't got enough power again. There's still ways around that because you can use simple logic in that we don't need to use the frame shift drive when we're using the vehicle, the SRV. And we don't need to use the shields when we're using the frame shift drive. So using the priorities, you can make the way things switch on and off. So let's do it like this. Right. So what we do, we switch off the planetary vehicle hangar because we don't need it for flying. So now we've got enough power. Look, we're only using 91%. So when we land on the planet, you just switch it on. And look what happens. The frame shift drive goes off automatically. You'll get a message saying you've exceeded power. But what the hell? It doesn't matter because you don't need the frame shift drive when you're on the ground. So when we finished using, we put the vehicle back in the ship, you switch it off and you're ready to go. So this is how you can, it's not cheating, but you can get more for less. You know, you can have a smaller power plant and save a bit of weight, money, or whatever you need to run a smaller power. You normally do this on exploring ships, but also in combat builds. You know, like because you've got so much stuff on your ship to, you know, weapons and stuff to protect you, that you run out of power. And again, this is another way of adjusting power. That obviously, like if you're shooting, you don't need to be your frame shift drive and your cargo hatch at the same time. You will need your power distributor, um, but they're the main things. It depends what modules you got on your ship. You know, you just have to use logic that you don't need to use them all at the same time, and you can switch them on and off. So you do this switching on and off in your modules panel by double clicking them, and you change the priorities just by clicking on the priority number like I did there. So that's a little bit about power management. You just have to apply logic. You set the priorities, like the lower the number, that's the first one to switch off. And another thing about priorities is if you get in a battle, the one with the lowest priority tends to take the most damage. So bear that in mind when you do that. But normally in combat, you know, you're going to have your sort of your main things that you need, like your thrusters, your power plant, and maybe your shields on a high priority, like priority 1, and things that you don't need, like um, fuel scoop, cargo hatch, and limpet controllers or something like that on a lower priority. Right, so that's power management. and outfitting. So let me just look at another option now. Is this it? That's the hauler. Uh, so you could get, you could just about get a Diamondback with the money we've got. Here it is here, 3.6 million. So we'll have about 400,000 left for, that's enough for 2 rebuys should anything go wrong. You never ever buy a ship and have nothing left for the insurance against it. Because if you blow it up, crash it or whatever, um, if you haven't got enough money to rebuy it, you'll be back in a sidewinder again. You keep the money that you got in the bank, but if you spent it all on ships, it's going to send you a long way back in the game. So be very careful of that. Generally, especially if you're doing combat, you want at least 2 rebuys. And the game throws all sorts of things at you. You never know when you're going to mess up and blow up your ship. Docking computer can do it. So don't think you're safe. It's called Elite Dangerous for a reason. There's all sorts of things to catch you out and you will blow up from time to time. Right. So here's our Diamondback. So we've got enough money for that. We can get about 24 light years with the money we've got. Unfortunately, there's not much more that we can do there. If you look, we've got a 5C frameshift drive and a 3A fuel scoop. Now, one of the advantages of the Diamondback is it has a massive range. So unless you're going a very long way, you don't need the fuel scoop. So if you're just like running around the normal inhabited space without going on a really long trip, this would be fine. You know, when you do eventually run out after 250 light years, you can stop by a star, fill up again, and then you're going to go for another 250 light years, which is what, 10 jumps. So you only need to like scoop every 10 jumps. But what will happen is as you fly past each star, you'll scoop a little bit of fuel. So that 10 jumps is actually probably 20 jumps before you have to actually stop and fill up, and that's a long way. That's going to be like 500 light years. For a fuel scoop would obviously be better, but we haven't got the money for it at the moment. Right, so what else have we compromised on? So again, we've not got much. We've chosen a power plant appropriate to what we need. It's only a 2D. The thrusters again, D for lightness, life support, power distributor, all the same. And to get down to a D power plant, had to do a bit of power management here the same way. So here we are. We put the planetary vehicle hangar on number 2 this time. When I put on the shields, it goes off. This is just done the other way round. So when I land, I have to physically switch off the shields, and then I can use the planetary vehicle hangar. You could do it the other way round. It's the same. So when I put the shields on, what's gone off now? Sorry. So when I switch on the vehicle hangar, the shields go off like before. So we're not going to use the. I mean, you can make any of these ones go off if you're close enough. Let me just see. So if I go back to here, you know, like when you're going to use that, you don't need the docking computer. So that hasn't got us enough. We got the frame shift drive. We could send that one off if we wanted to. So that's another thing that would work, but you'd have to switch that off to use the frame shift drive. So you just have to use logic and play about with those things, what you want to switch on and what you want to switch off and how. Don't forget, the shields take a while to come back along. The frame shift drive takes less time to charge up. So probably I'd do the frame shift drive rather than the shields. But yeah, that's probably what I would do. But if you can do other things, other modules like the cargo hatch, docking computer, they come on more or less instantly. So they would be the first ones, but they don't give enough power at the moment. Right. So 3D shields, not the best, but they will protect you in a bump when you're landing on a planet. And the same other stuff. So this is just like an overgrown hauler, really. And we get slightly, I think it was about, was it, with all this stuff, about the same jump range. So um, there's not really a big advantage doing this at the moment. I mean, what I would do, if you want to do exploring, I would jump in the hauler and use that for a little bit, do the road to riches or something, come back with a load of money and get yourself a top spec um, Diamondback. Now, have I got one ready done here? So this would be the sort of ultimate um, explorer ship at this stage, without engineering and without the Guardian stuff. So um, a 2A power plant runs nice and cool and gives enough power. Um, again, D thrusters, A frame shift drive, all the some of this is stuff is like common for exploring. It's just a power plant. You have to adjust that to give you enough power for what you need. Bearing in mind, D's the lightest, but the smaller the number, the lighter it goes as well. So 2A actually gives more power than a 3D. So bear that in mind as well. And it runs cooler. So we got the maximum fuel scoop, um, and so here only a 3D shield generator. Now again, bear in mind this landing on high G planets. You'd probably want to go higher than that, and then you're going to need maybe a higher power plant. Haven't done any power management yet, so let's say we went with uh, a 3C shield. See, straight away we haven't got enough power, so we can do what we did before and have the shields go off when the planetary vehicle goes on, or the frame shift drive. Where is it? There, like that. So when we switch that off, we're okay. When we land, switch it on, go and use it, switch it off, and you're ready to go again. So uh, that would work, but you know, same thing again with the thrusters. They're not bad. So ultimately, right, this this isn't a bad, what I call a starter exploration ship. You can go anywhere in this. But these days we've got engineering and the Guardian stuff. So what I would do, I would get myself enough money for this Diamondback, which costs 10 million. So that's what, an hour in the hauler. So jump in the hauler, go away, do an evening in the hauler, and you're going to come back with like 20, 30 million, and then get your diamond back like this. And then you want to think about doing the Guardian stuff. So you'd add some pulse lasers because you've got something to shoot in there. I think that just one would be enough. Another thing sometimes people want in Explorers is heat sinks, because if you fall into a star, you can take a lot of heat damage. So just fire off uh, the heatsink launcher off. You mess up with your fuel scooping and go too hot, firing a heatsink saves a bit of damage. Yeah, there's those options. Still, we got like 35 um, light years. Oh yeah, if you're doing the Guardian stuff, you need point defense, probably 2, like that. This is the build for doing the uh, Guardian stuff. What that is, the Guardian stuff, just very briefly. Um, there's various stages to it. You need to look at the videos on it, but basically you go to Guardian ruins. I know, first of all, I think you've got to get a key. So you, you got you got a few hoops to jump through. I think you go somewhere, get something, go and find this thing, shoot some things on it, and it gives you a key. You then take the key, get a few of these keys. Then you go to the Guardian site and scan a load of things, and there's timers and whatever. Basically, they're little mini games, and eventually you get a Guardian blueprint, which then allows you to go and buy some Guardian stuff. And you'll see them down the bottom here. You can't get them until you've unlocked them, so you need to research how to do that. So right down the bottom here, the thing that explorers want is the frameshift drive booster, and as you see, well, so we're going to get a bit more power. Um, so we jump right up to 44 light years. And then with engineering, there's this here. You have to unlock all the engineers. The frameshift drive one is probably one of the easiest. With increased range and special effect. Now we're up to 65 light. So this would make a good explorer. It won't take you a lot of effort to get Elvira Martuk unlocked. I think you just have to travel 500 light years or something like that from start, and we're probably halfway there already. So that's that and the Guardian thing. Between those two, you're on your way to go traveling the universe. You can make it even better by unlocking all the other engineers and lightning these things, and getting different things on your shields. There's all sorts of things you can do, but I'm not going to cover that now. So what I'm going to do now is go back to the ASP. Sorry, the hauler. So I want to show you now a little bit about um, more about outfitting and changing ships. So we paid for these modules that we've got on our Sidewinder, and if we sell them with the ship, you lose 15%. Now, money is a bit tight at the moment. We have got a bit spare for what we're going to do, but this might be more important. If you're a bit strapped for cash. So if we go to outfitting, what we want to do now, sell all the optional things or get rid of them. Now, we don't need the 2A fuel scoop anymore because we're going to get a 3A one. So we can sell that. And these things are loans, so they're not got no value. Now we can go to the core internals, the things we upgraded, and send them back to how they were. So we're going to go back to a 2E1, just in case they don't have them at this station. We're going to store the old one. And the same here with the thrusters, because we want 2D thrusters in a new one. By storing them, we're guaranteed that they're going to be here. So browse shop. We're going to go back to E1s, and because they're cheaper. Buying options, store, and so on. The frame shift drive is going to be the same. Or can I store it directly? What's it done then? Yeah, it does it automatically. Sorry, I didn't know that. I'm sure it didn't offer me that in the beginning. So the life support, I can store that. And what it's doing is swapping them for an E. Power distributor, store, and sensors store. So I'm pretty sure they got all these things at this station, and we don't really need the extra 15%. Bearing in mind that at this station we get 15% discount on the modules as well. So that actually gives us a little bit more money. So when I said we had 4 million to spend on ships, you can add the 15%. So what's that? So another 600,000. So we might even get as high as, well, we're up in 4.5 million at least. So that Diamondback is actually within reach, but I haven't done enough experimentation to see exactly what you can get to sort it out. So let's just stick with this for now. So now we're back now to basic Sidewinder. We had no hard points, no utility mounts. So now what we want to do is go to the shipyard and get a lovely shining new first new ship, which is the hauler. So purchase options. We don't want to store the old ship. It's worth now only 44,000. So exchange current ship, so you can see we get a rebate on the old one. So we're only now going to have to. So you got part exchange 11,000. So the new one costs 44,000. Sorry, the old one's worth 11,000. So exchange, you're going to lose it. We don't mind. It's done its job now. So the first thing we need to do with this hauler is now outfit it with those things we stored. Right, so here we go. Outfitting. The first time you go to outfitting, it takes you all through those tunnel things and takes ages. But once you've visited any station, you know, you can, when you go back to outfitting, it's instant. It seems to remember. Right, we got hard points, we don't need them, so we get rid of the pulse laser. All that's doing is slowing us down. We don't need any, we haven't got, and we don't need any utility mounts. As I say, a heat sink's always sort of optional, but bear in mind the weight does cut your jump range down a bit. Right, here's the stuff. So now, all those things that we stored, we can bring back. So transfer options, transfer, and this is the one you got transfer, so transfer to ship. I think you can do it also like this. There's two ways you can do it. You can either click on them, click on the transfer one, and then from the list transfer the one you want to the ship if you've got more than one stored. Or if you go to stored modules, I think you can do it the other way around. So the frameshift drive, transfer to ship. And then you'll see that it's asking you where you want to put it. Well, obviously you want to put it there. It's the only place. So transfer. I think it's the same number of clicks. Thrusters, transfer to ship. Replace the TUI, transfer. Life support, transfer. I want to show you one other thing in a minute. What else we got with this one? And the sensors. Right, now we got all these ones now stored. What it's done, it's swapped them over. But we don't need these. So what we're going to do now is sell those. Click on them, sell. They're totally useless. You're never going to use those. So you get the money for them. So the only thing we need to get now is the fuel scoop. So optional internals, stick it at the top. Fuel scoop 3A, there it is. So now we're up to 29 light years. Our 2D power plant's got here 7.2 megawatts like before. Still more than enough power to do everything. We got shields. We don't need those. So here's the build for if you're going to carry on with the road to riches. So it's just the fuel scoop, the advanced docking computer, got rid of the shields, and this gives us a jump range of 32 light years, which makes much more efficiency in doing the road to riches because there'll be less jumps to planets, to systems without the valuable planets. You know, you can do like more single jumps from one high value to the next, so you're getting the maximum amount of money. Right, but I'm going to now use this opportunity to show you a few other things about exploration. Um, so you don't need to outfit, if you're going to do the road to riches, you don't need to do this. Uh, do it when you get the Diamondback, if you want to carry on with the exploration. But you can do it if you want. It's up to you. Up to you. I'm not going to tell you how to play the game. Right. Here's the loadouts that I'm going to use for the hauler to do some uh, planet scans with the detailed surface scanner and the uh, SRV to drive around on the planets. Um, One other thing, I've fitted shields now because obviously you need shields to land on the planet. And the other thing is, although I've got the advanced docking computer, I recommend you change that for a standard one. Now, the advanced docking computer is good for getting out of the station when you haven't got shields because it stops you from bumping into things. But um, it's really slow. It puts you in a queue and all sorts of stupid things. But with a standard docking computer, you take off yourself. It's dead straightforward. Just lift off vertically and then drive forward and out the slots. And that's a lot quicker. But just remember to go out on the green side, and that'll save you like bumping into ships coming in from the other side. Uh, Very briefly, power management. We've got enough power now to run everything should we want to. But as soon as you leave the station, you want to switch off all the things you don't need for traveling: shield generator, planetary vehicle hangar, cargo hatch, and the docking computer. So once you've got out the station, um, you won't need a docking computer anymore until you come back in. So when you um, need to dock, just switch it back on again and just double click them to switch them on and off. What that'll do, leaving those off, will make you run much cooler, and the hauler does run a little bit hot when scooping. So uh, with those switched off, it'll be much better to scoop, as you'll find out. So if you do find you're running a little bit hot, switch off all the modules you don't need. Don't forget, we've already proved you don't need the shields in space, so that's no problem. Right, now the ASP um, has some advantages over the Diamondback for a deep space trip. It has a much bigger fuel scoop and can scoop so quickly that it'll scoop as you go past each star and then you're on to the next one. The Diamondback doesn't have such a big fuel scoop and it can't scoop enough to completely replenish at each star as you go past unless you stop. So the ASP gains a few seconds, maybe 10 seconds at every jump. So if you're going to deep space with literally hundreds of jumps, the ASP gets the advantage. It loses a little bit on overall jump range, but it more than makes up for it because it can do, as it does each jump in less time, it can do a higher frequency of jumps. So it's actually quicker to travel in the ASP for a very long way than the Diamondback. So Diamondback's great for just travelling around the inhabited space, anything up to like 500 light years, as a taxi or anything like that for doing all the engineers. But ASP wins when it's better for like a deep space trip, going to the centre of the galaxy or the other side, Beagle Point, um, Colonia, anything like that. I think the ASP wins. Then, so the loadout is very similar to what I showed you in the hauler and the Diamondback. It's D-rated modules and power plant big enough to provide power. Um, a 3A makes more power and runs cooler than a 4D. So always bear that in mind. If you're looking at class 4 power plant, you think, oh, 4D hasn't got enough power, so I need a 4A. Well, you don't. You can actually go down to a 3A. Um, let's just look at some of while we're on power, I'll just show you the power management here. Um, no, sorry. Let's come back up here. I'll show you the modules first. So now I've added some other things. Auto field maintenance units, two of them, and cargo rack and a repair limpet controller. Now what happens when you're in a very long trip? occasionally you mess up and you fall into a star because you fell asleep, or you overheat a little bit when you're fuel scooping because you lost concentration or got too close to it or something. There's all sorts of things that can go wrong when you're doing thousands and thousands of jumps. And each time you take a little bit of damage, and that damage accumulates. And if it gets too much, you can't get back. There's no repair stations or anything like that out in deep space. So you need to be self-sufficient. So an auto field maintenance unit repairs modules. So as your modules go down and down, what you can do is stop off at some points, and these work when you're not in Super Cruise. So you just stop somewhere in space, just drop out of Super Cruise, and then fire off the auto field maintenance unit. I think there's a few options for modules and things that you can choose to repair. So you can choose the worst ones, or you can click them all and repair them all, things like that. And the reason we got two is obviously because the AFMU itself is taking damage, and if it's got too much damage, it won't work. So having a second one, you can keep the first one repaired all the time. So you only use the second one, so you can get away with a smaller one because the only thing you can repair is that. They have like ammo, so each ammo repairs, so much damage to each module. So if you select everything and they're badly damaged, you run out of ammo. Um, I can't remember whether you can synthesize ammo for it, but um, probably. Um, then down here, a repair limpet can repair your hull. The AFMU can't repair your hull, and each time you take damage, you fall into a star. Normally, your hull goes down a little bit as well. So same thing, you just stop. Um, Now you don't want to carry limpets because it's extra mass and going to weigh you down. The um, the cargo rack itself doesn't have any mass. It's only when you put stuff in it. So go out with an empty cargo rack, and what you do is you should be preloaded. So you can do it anytime. If you've got the SRV, you can land on a planet, drive around, and collect the materials that you need to synthesize limpets. I'll show you that when we're on the planet in the next video, and so you just synthesize limpets. They just appear in the cargo rack after you've done the synthesizing procedure. And then you just fire one off. It jumps out, lands on the hull, and repairs a couple of percentage of it. So you're going to need to keep doing that until your hull's repaired. But, because you can farm the materials out in deep space by landing on planets, you can always repair, and that'll just keep you going for forever. So once you've left, there isn't ever a reason to come back if you don't want to. But of course, you'll be out there collecting all that data and get all sorts of interesting things that you want to come back and tell people about. So I don't think anybody ever does stay out permanently, but if you wanted to, you could. So that's the ASP. Now, I'm not going to show you the Anaconda. It is the ultimate exploration ship. It's got a bigger jump range, more module space, you can carry more stuff. Um, but some people don't like the Anaconda because it's a bit cumbersome. To land on planets is harder because it's so big. While as a Diamondback, like, can land anywhere. Asp is sort of not as good as the Diamondback from a landing point of view because it's bigger. What happens is you need a flat surface to land on. So the Diamondback, being very small, can get in a little bit flat bit between a couple of humps, while as the Asp can't. The Anaconda, being like much bigger, you have to sort of hunt about for a landing place sometimes, especially if it's like a bumpy planet. So, there's like advantages, disadvantages for all these things. But if you just wanted to travel, say you just wanted to visit the center of the galaxy, the universe, um, Alpha Centauri, is it? No, oh, can't think of the name of the planet. Sagittarius A. So if you want to go there, um, just have a look there, get the badge, and come back again. Then Anaconda is quite a good ship for that. But if you want to do like general exploring, landing on stuff, exploring ruins and um, barnacles and geysers and stuff like that, the Diamondback is not bad, and ASP. I choose one of those two. So it just depends. The further you want to go, the more the ASP gets it over the Diamondback. Um, but if you don't want to land, just want to travel, the Anaconda's the one. Right, so that's ship choice, loadouts, and everything. What I'm going to do now is end the video here because it's getting a bit long, and then I'm going to, in the next one, show you how to use the detailed surface scanner and how to use the SRV. Now I've added some other things, auto field maintenance units, two of them, and cargo rack and a repair limpet controller. Now what happens when you're in a very long trip? Occasionally you mess up and you fall into a star because you fell asleep, or you overheat a little bit when you're fuel scooping because you lost concentration or got too close to it or something. There's all sorts of things that can go wrong when you're doing thousands and thousands of jumps. And each time you take a little bit of damage, and that damage accumulates. And if it gets too much, you can't get back. There's no repair stations or anything like that out in deep space. So you need to be self-sufficient. So an auto field maintenance unit repairs modules. So as your modules go down and down, what you can do is stop off at some point, and these work when you're not in Super Cruise. So you just stop somewhere in space, just drop out of Super Cruise, and then fire off the auto field maintenance unit. I think there's a few options for modules and things that you can choose to repair. So you can choose the worst ones, or you can click them all and repair them all, things like that. And the reason we got two is obviously because the AFMU itself is taking damage, and if it's got too much damage, it won't work. So having a second one, you can keep the first one repaired all the time. So you only use the second one, so you can get away with a smaller one because the only thing you can repair is that. They have like ammo, so each ammo repairs, so much damage to each module. So if you select everything and they're badly damaged, you run out of ammo. Um, I can't remember whether you can synthesize ammo for it, but um, probably. Um, then down here, a repair limpet can repair your hull. The AFMU can't repair your hull, and each time you take damage, you fall into a star. Normally, your hull goes down a little bit as well. So same thing, you just stop. Um, Now, you don't want to carry limpets because it's extra mass and going to weigh you down. The um, the cargo rack itself doesn't have any mass. It's only when you put stuff in it. So go out with an empty cargo rack, and what you do is you should be preloaded. So you can do it anytime. If you've got the SRV, you can land on a planet, drive around, and collect the materials that you need to synthesize limpets. I'll show you that when we're on the planet in the next video, and so you just synthesize limpets. They just appear in the cargo rack after you've done the synthesizing procedure. And then you just fire one off. It jumps out, lands on the hull, and repairs a couple of percentages of it. So you're going to need to keep doing that until your hull's repaired. But, because you can farm the materials out in deep space by landing on planets, you can always repair, and that'll just keep you going for forever. So once you've left, there isn't ever a reason to come back if you don't want to. But of course, you'll be out there collecting all that data and get all sorts of interesting things that you want to come back and tell people about. So I don't think anybody ever does stay out permanently, but if you wanted to, you could. Well, I'll just show you the power management. Because of our 3A power plant, we haven't quite got enough power to run everything. Not that you'd want to leave everything switched on. So you're going to be doing a lot of traveling. This is for a deep space build. So the all these things that I've grayed out, we don't actually need to um, have switched on when we're running. So that's how I'd have it. I'd have all these things switched off when I'm traveling. Then when you want to use the auto field maintenance unit, you just stop, drop out of Super Cruise because you can't use it in Super Cruise, and then just switch it on. You've got enough power to run it on its own. If you're going to land on a planet, you're going to need shields and the SRV, so you've got enough power for those. And if you might even want to switch on the power distributor. So these things are very power hungry. So as long as you got those switched off, like you can't switch them both at the time. If you're repairing that one, you'd switch that one on. But if we switch that one off on, we have to have that one switched off. So that one can repair that one. So if you just set it up the same as this, with that on priority 2 and that one on priority 2, that should be enough. So that's the ASP. Now, I'm not going to show you the Anaconda. It is the ultimate exploration ship. It's got a bigger jump range, more module space, you can carry more stuff. But some people don't like the Anaconda because it's a bit cumbersome. To land on planets is harder because it's so big. While as a Diamondback, it can land anywhere. Asp is sort of not as good as the Diamondback from a landing point of view because it's bigger. What happens is you need a flat surface to land on. So the Diamondback, being very small, can get in a little bit flat bit between a couple of humps, while as the Asp can't. The Anaconda, being like much bigger, you have to sort of hunt about for a landing place sometimes, especially if it's like a bumpy planet. So, there's like advantages, disadvantages for all these things. But if you just wanted to travel, say you just wanted to visit the center of the galaxy, the universe, um, Alpha Centauri, is it? No, can't think of the name of the planet. Sagittarius A. So if you want to go there, um, just have a look there, get the badge, and come back again. Then Anaconda is quite a good ship for that. But if you want to do like general exploring, landing on stuff, exploring ruins and um, barnacles and geysers and stuff like that, the Diamondback is um, not bad, and the Asp. I choose one of those two. So it just depends. The further you want to go, the more the Asp gets it over the Diamondback. Um, but if you don't want to land, just want to travel, the Anaconda's the one. Right, so that's ship choice, loadouts, and everything. What I'm going to do now is end the video here because it's getting a bit long, and then I'm going to, in the next one, show you how to use the detailed surface scanner and how to use the SRV.